Good morning, Kansas City. Welcome to Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio. I'm Kevin Kietzman. We are broadcasting live today at Kauffman Stadium, as you've heard Mundo in the morning, all morning long. What an unbelievable show with big breaking news all morning that we're going to catch up on a little bit more in a bit. I want to talk a little baseball to start the show today, and then I think we're going to have Rex Hudler swing by, who has the most unbelievable blue tuxedo jacket on. He said he got it at a tuxedo shop. I wish I could show you a picture of him right now. He'll be here. Ryan Lefevre is going to join us from FanDuel Sports Network. These are the Royals radio announcers. We'll have them, or TV announcers. We'll have them on. But to recap very quickly before we get into my thoughts on baseball, and I'm like Pete. I'm not going to get into the X's and O's and get deep on the team. I just want to share with everyone today what baseball means to me and what it means to this community. But before we do that, I do want to comment on John Sherman using a term today that we've not heard him say a lot. They have moved away from the term downtown baseball to density. And I thought that was really the most important thing that John Sherman said. And he said whether that's in an urban area or closer to, I think is his exact quote, closer to a suburban area, he hasn't decided yet. But they hope to have something done by midsummer. So when I heard him say density, I immediately started thinking of Washington Square Park. It's technically not downtown, but it's right by downtown, and it's a very dense area where there's a lot of people that work. When they say density, I don't think they're talking about like Lee Summit, Parkville or Leawood, single-family home rooftops. I think what they're talking about is how many people go by here every day. Now, that could obviously be off of an interstate where a lot of people commute and have traffic as well. So density is the new buzzword with the Royals. I don't think they've ruled anything out. Mayor Quentin Lucas, prior to that, told Pete Mundo that the $1.4 billion he says they've told the Royals they're going to have is going to come basically as a result of a carbon copy of what the state of Kansas is doing. That it will come through the state. It will involve the city, certainly. Does not involve any Jackson County sales taxes. But look at it this way. If they're going to lose a team, they're going to lose all the sales tax revenue from that team. If they lose it to Kansas, they lose it all. So why not offer all that sales tax revenue to the team to stay in Missouri? Makes total sense. Mayor Q, when he is on, is really on. In his interview today, I'm sure it'll be up shortly on the podcast. If you did not hear it, you want to hear that interview with Pete Mundo on KCMO Talk Radio today, because Mayor Q was just as good as he's ever been. And he he almost sounded like a Republican in this one today, honestly. There's no other way to say it. He was talking about Republican leaders in Jeff City and how they're getting along and doing this together and working to get the right thing done for the state of Missouri. I think it feels like we're at a heightened level of competition, and no longer we're hearing people say, we shouldn't compete, that's not good for anybody. This is great. These states should compete against each other for these entities. They absolutely should, and in the end, it will make Kansas City a better place to live for all of us. So on the baseball side of things, a story was written by Bobby Witt Jr., who is, at least in my neighborhood, I can't speak for anybody else's, the 8 to 18-year-olds that run around, mostly boys, the 8 to 18-year-olds that run around, I'm not kidding, I see every bit as many, if not more, Bobby Witt shirts, jerseys, and paraphernalia than I see Patrick Mahomes. He is a huge figure in this town, and I don't think anybody thinks of him right now as Patrick Mahomes in this town because he hasn't won the World Series like Mahomes has won 3 Super Bowls. But it's real, and where it's most real in this community is with the younger people. They love him. He's of their generation. He's very young. There's kids that are seniors in high school that Bobby Witt was a senior in high school, 5 years ago, 6 years ago? They identify with him. They see themselves. They know the dream. Bobby Witt Jr. has written a piece in something called the Players Tribune, which was started by Derek Jeter and other athletes to be an outlet for great superstars in different sports to write their own story. There is no other writer. Bobby Witt Jr. is the author of the story about Bobby Witt Jr. I assume they give him a ghostwriter. He spent a lot of time on this. He promoted it on social media. He's very proud of it. It is the longest thing you will read probably this year if you read sports stuff. And it is fantastic. And in it, we hear Bobby Witt Jr. not just say in front of the cameras, I'd like to stay in Kansas City my whole life. He says that he believes God put him in Kansas City to play baseball for a reason. And his entire life, he has dreamed of playing for one team his entire career. He obviously would admire George Brett. He's got Salvador Perez, who it looks like has a great chance of playing his entire career in Kansas City. And Bobby Witt wants to be that guy. Now, the Royals, as they go forth about business, have to think of Bobby Witt as a shorter-term player. They've signed him to a contract, but they can't think about Bobby Witt being here in 10 years. The reason the Royals are spending money and they're trying to win now with Bobby Witt is they don't know. They may have to deal him in 5 years. They may have to trade him away. They don't know. But what they know is they have the player that's favored to win the American League MVP. But this story is so much more than that. And he starts writing about when he was a kid and would be off to the side in the dirt while the games were being played because he was nervous. He said he was a very good practice player but didn't like the games. He was most comfortable in his backyard picking up rocks with a beat-up black wiffle ball bat and hitting rocks over the fence. And he became very good at it, but his dad wasn't very happy with him because it wrecked the lawnmower with all these rocks that he collected. He describes a fear of failure as a kid, and he didn't like to play in the games. He got nervous, he was scared, he was afraid. It is the most unbelievable thing you will read. And it harkened back so many things from my childhood, and I'm obviously much older than Bobby Witt. But anybody that's ever played baseball or been a fan of baseball, there is a connection that is so deep and so passionate, it never leaves you. I was telling Pete a little bit earlier, I sat right out in those seats in right field when I was 7 years old, $1.50 a ticket. Right field GA, it looks far different today. I'd stare at Denny Matthews through the binoculars, dreaming to be a broadcaster someday, wanting to be George Brett, watching my hero. What if I could ever meet George Brett? What if I could get his autograph? What if any of these things would happen? Baseball is life. I didn't hit rocks with a beat-up wiffle ball bat like Bobby Witt Jr., but we used to play something called cup ball at Johnson County 3 and 2. My brother would be playing baseball, and me and a couple of my teammates, when we were 7, 8, 9 years old, while our older brothers were playing, would wad up. We had wax cups back then, wax Coke cups. We'd wad those up, use our hands as the bat, and we'd play cup ball. Sometimes we used a wadded-up foil wrapper from a hot dog, but those hurt your hand a little bit more. We took a Nerf ball, just a little Nerf basketball, out onto the driveway with tennis rackets and threw the most unbelievable Steve Busby curveballs you ever saw and tried to hit it with a tennis racket. Anything with a ball and stick we did. We'd go to Mission Park. We'd play pickup games. It was very important to have 3 left fielders because you could not allow the ball to get past the left fielders and roll down into Mission Creek because then your game was over. It was like the movie The Sandlot. We didn't have the beast beyond the fence, but we had a creek that would swallow up that ball, possibly wash it away. Either way, it was going to be soaked and not as usable. And we cherished every one of those baseballs and protected those from the creek. When I was in high school, we had a tradition before every practice at our high school baseball team where we walked out onto our field, which we called the pit because it was a dump at Shawnee Mission North High School. It was a dump. And the entire team would fan across the infield, and we would pick up rocks. Everybody had to collect a hat full of rocks and go dump them off to the side. The soil was so bad that we played on, there was gravel rocks in it, and we'd clean them out before every practice. In those days, we dreamed not of the beast beyond the fence. We dreamed of Channel 9 weather lady Cheryl Jones, who lived in the apartment beyond the fence in right field. We couldn't believe Cheryl. We're 16, 17, 18 years old. We couldn't believe Cheryl Jones lived out there in those apartments, and we heard on the other side of the fence, this was very rare in Mission, let me tell you, when I was growing up, that these apartments had a pool. A pool. Could we hit a home run ball into that pool? Could we climb the fence and see if there is a pool? It was a privacy fence. These are the things we remember. We remember the nostalgia of baseball, the 85 World Series, the 15 World Series for a generation of Kansas City fans. This is a team that day in and day out brings a city together. And it doesn't just bring you together on whether they won the game, whether Bobby hit a home run, whether Salvi was smiling or Cole Reagan's got 9 strikeouts. It wasn't always that. It takes you back to when you were a kid and you were playing this game. And it didn't matter how good you were. It mattered that you were playing and you were with your friends and you were building memories and relationships for a lifetime. That's what the sport of baseball is. Baseball is memories. It's nostalgia. It's life. This team is a valuable and important commodity in our community. We love the Royals as much as we love baseball itself and all of our personal memories. We're going to have Rex Hudler on in a couple of moments. He was a number 1 draft pick. I never had any dreams that I'd be that, but we were a really good high school baseball team. I was a decent player. And I'll never forget it. And I'll never forget the impact that George Brett had on my life, watching him play every day, how hard Hal McRae would slide into second base. The way you play baseball is the way you live your life. You take full responsibility for everything you're doing, and you do it for your teammates. And you go 110% every time in everything that you do. That's why we love baseball. It's grueling. It's at times unfair. It is a relentless season where every great player struggles for 3 weeks and every great team struggles for 3 weeks. It's everything that life is. On this opening day, don't get too caught up in the X's and the O's. Don't get too caught. The Royals are going to be good this year. It's going to be a fun year. I can't tell you they're going to win this World Series. I can't tell you if they're going to have injuries and not make the playoffs. We don't know. On this day, celebrate that it's going to be 80 degrees. The sun is out. The grass is cut. The peanuts are tasty. The popcorn, I can smell it as being popped already in here. And this is the game that we grew up with, that everybody could play in one way or another. We love baseball. It's on. Kansas City is baseball. You're listening to KCMO Talk Radio. I'm Kevin Kietzman. We got Rex Hudler, Royals broadcaster, coming up next to hear his thoughts on this great game. You're live with Uncanceled at the ballpark.
Call Kevin Kietzman, 913-408-7957. Now on 95.7 FM.
Welcome back to Kevin Kietzman Uncanceled, and we are at the ballpark with Rex Hudler of FanDuel Sports Network. Has anybody introduced you that way yet?
No, and I love it. You just keep bringing it. I'm so excited to be with them. It really doesn't matter who our broadcasting partner is, although it means a lot. No question, don't get me wrong. It's just all about being out here around the grand game, talking about Royals players, their organization, how classy. And, being with 7 organizations in 3 countries, Kevin, I got a pretty good idea about how teams are run. And there's a lot of those organizations that would like to believe they're like the Royals and they're family-oriented. They're not. They're all money-oriented except for this organization here. Now, look, it's a blessing to be able to work for them because they treat me like I'm somebody. I don't even get a paycheck from them. So it's a blast.
Come on, man. You've got a tuxedo jacket on today. What do you mean you're not somebody?
Opening
You're walking
day.
around strutting around like a peacock around here. You look so good.
Kevin, when you got a face like mine, you got to color it up, man. You got to do something about that because the old ladies that watch the broadcast, they're like, oh, look at the jacket. It's so pretty. And then by the time they get to my face, we're off camera.
I don't
so they
believe you
can't
for a
see
second.
me. High def kills me, Kevin.
I don't believe you for a second, man. You look good. I know you're healthy. You're feeling good. You're so involved in our community and do so many great things here. Baseball's a big deal. We could get into all the weeds about the team. We've discussed that right and left. I want to ask you what this sport means to you. You played for 3 countries, 7 organizations, but I was just talking off the air with you about this story Bobby Witt wrote. He was talking about being nervous as a kid and hitting rocks with a wiffle bat. What was it like growing up and playing baseball, and when did you know that you had a love affair with this game that was never going to leave?
Kevin, just like Junior, I grew up in a nice environment in Fresno, California. It was nice weather year-round, so I played any sport that came into the season. Okay, that's what we did back in those days. That was in the early 70s. I had a great upbringing, but I remember I'll never forget my first Little League practice I went to. The coach, he let me put the catcher's gear on, and I caught a sequence of batting practice pitches the guy was hitting, and I was so excited. I came home to my mom, and I said, Mom, baseball is beautiful. I loved it. I was in on every pitch. I was the catcher, and I caught every pitch, and it was so fun. And she said, son, you'll never catch again. I'm glad you had a good experience, but go pick another position out there. Catching, you'll get yourself all banged up, and it won't be worth it. Find another spot, you'll never catch again. And she was right. I was a little bit disappointed at the time, but then I went out and found a glove and played and ran and became an athlete. She's right. I love her for that. But the passion of baseball was in me at 6, 7 years old, and then soccer came, and then football was later, much later. But soccer helped develop my base, my foundation of running, my speed, my agility, coming in, going back, just like, kind of like how Junior runs. I was a runner. I was a speed guy, probably not in his league, but just really loved all the sports. And when I dominated recess and dominated PE, my 2 favorite subjects in school.
Right.
Okay, yeah. When I dominated, that's when I wrote my teacher a letter when she said, hey, write a letter, tell us what you want to be. I want to be a professional athlete, period. I don't have any idea what sport it's going to be in, but I'm going to be there.
So when did baseball separate? When did you know that you were better at baseball than the other sports? And when was the first time you thought to yourself, I can be a professional baseball? I can really be one.
Thank you. I'm 17 years old, and God blessed me physically. He blessed me with a great quarterback in high school. I caught 22 passes in my final football game ever that I ever played in. That was a state record. And I had 25 D1 football offers. I've signed with Notre Dame. I was going to go catch passes from a guy named Joe Montana. And so all excited about that. And so now I'm going to play baseball my senior year, the final sport of the year, and I'm going to have fun. I'll never play baseball again, so let's have fun. So I played loose, and next thing you know, I get a call from the New York Yankees saying, we've drafted you in the first round, 18th pick in the country, and I was elated. Now, my mom said, you wasted your pick, she told them on the phone. You wasted your pick. My son's going to college. So she played hardball because she was my agent. I couldn't have one. It would have ruined my eligibility back then. So she wanted to up the ante. So she held that against him and got more money from Mr. Steinbrenner. I love her.
I love it. Yeah, you loved it. That's worth about $6 million today. What was it in those days?
Yeah, that was a 150 signing bonus.
That's big. That was big, wasn't it?
1978 was a big bonus. The highest he'd ever given a player, and I was his first bonus baby.
Wow.
So it was exciting. It was fun. But that's when I said, okay, I'm going to make it in baseball then. But, I had no idea because I put God on the shelf, and I had been walking with him as a young person, and he opened the doors for me. He gave me the desires of my heart to choose from two of the best sports in the world. Notre Dame just come off a national title. The Yankees won a World Series in '77. So I'm like, oh my gosh! And I had the nerve to say, God, hey, thanks a lot. I'll see you in the majors. And so I put him on the shelf, and he pulled up the cup of blessings and said, okay, Hud, good luck to you. 10 years I toiled in the minors.
Yeah.
Nothing. Couldn't sniff it. Got a couple cups of coffee. Yogi was my first manager. Billy was my next manager. After that, they traded me to Earl Weaver. Still couldn't find a home until, what do? I asked God to help me find a wife. He finds a wife for me, and then he says, okay, Hud, now that you're letting me back in the driver's seat, I'm going to let you in the promised land. 10 straight years in the majors.
That's awesome.
After I married Jennifer. She's the best.
So much fun. Rex Hudler with us from FanDuel Sports Network. They've got the call today at 3:10 on FanDuel Sports. And we'll finish with this. You have a spirit for baseball that I recognized the very first time I saw Salvador Perez play baseball. I've never seen anybody love the game more than him. But I always love people who you can tell love playing the game. Sometimes, like Bobby Witt's demeanor is more serious. We know he loves to play the game. I love people that have fun in their sport. That was you. Do you see some of yourself in Salvi?
Absolutely.
The way he plays?
You're two kind of people. You're either a fountain or a drain. You either got life for others or you're going to suck people down the drain with you. In this sport, it's played every day, unlike any other sport in the world, 7 days a week. And nowadays, with a balanced schedule, you get 3 days off a month. It's a grind. So who you want coming in that clubhouse door is a guy that has his head up, his shoulders back, and wants to speak to the people. Hey, how you doing? Has a smile on his face. That right there, when those young players that are getting beat, they see a veteran come in with a smile, it loosens them up. So Salvi, I can only imagine. You come in that clubhouse, but he has accolades.
Right.
I was just a bench. I rode the pine for 9. I was a middle of the road player, but still, I was an energy giver, and that's what you want. You got energy givers or takers. Salvi is a light, and when the team's going bad, you look for that light. You look for him to come in, and when things are going good, it's easy to carry yourself bebop around when you're going good in baseball, but when you're not, and that's most of the time, you're getting beat. You need veteran guys with smiles, even young guys that come in that have an idea about the grand game. You have to have positive energy to succeed it, or all the negativity in the business, Kevin, will get you out.
Awesome. Mark, we're going to steal an extra minute here. Hud, your prediction today, I know you got to go and do another interview. Your prediction is Salvi today. You got Salvi being the man today? Is that it?
3-run homer.
Three-run homer.
Coming off of Bybee.
Awesome, buddy.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for your
Kevin,
time.
you're the best.
Always
Thanks
great
for
to
having
see
me
you.
on.
Thank you.
All
He
right,
is
see you,
Rex
bud.
Hudler, FanDuel Sports Network. You can catch them at 3 o'clock, and he is off to do another interview. There's no better ambassador for the Royals than Rex Hudler. He's got so much energy every single day and loves this sport. And if we can do one thing with this show, what I hope to do today was kind of create an environment of what baseball means to different people. It's just such a romantic sport and a nostalgic sport, and we love it for that reason.
Hud is the best.
Isn't he awesome, Mark? I mean, doesn't he just make you want to run through a brick wall?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. The energy that he brings, and he loves this game every single day. And we know, even if you're not the biggest sports fan or whatever it may be, that baseball has a place in your heart. The Royals start at 3 o'clock today. This is Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio. We come back. We're going to talk about what Mayor Clinton Lucas said, and Ryan Lefevre will join us coming up shortly.
If it's happening in KCMO, it's on KCMO 95.7 FM. Here's Kevin Kietzman.
So you're killing me, Smalls. They used to have us broadcast from the stadium, in like a broadcast booth that was sort of like a prison cell, and you couldn't see much and you didn't see anybody. We're in the concourse of the Diamond Club here today. When you do things with Pete Mundo, it's big time. That's just how it works. Never broadcast from the Diamond Club. I'm sitting next to the baking company shop where they have giant buckets of hot tamales sitting out and peanut M&Ms and licorice. And, of course, right next to that, because it's Kansas City, is barbecue and beer taps. So I think I'm good for the day right here. Don't think I need much else. They have classic milkshakes right here. Are you kidding me?
I got to come out and join you
like
after the show ends.
All right, what's your favorite, Mark? The hot tamales, the M&Ms, or the licorice?
Oh, man, I love the M&Ms. Chocolate guy here.
Peanut M&Ms? You like peanut butter M&Ms?
I like all of them.
all the M&Ms. Milkshake or cold beer?
I'm a dessert guy. I like the milkshake.
Milkshake it is. There it is. It is opening day. We're at Kauffman Stadium. You're listening to KCMO Talk Radio, Uncanceled. And Pete just had a tremendous show earlier today with actual newsmakers making news in media on live radio, as opposed to, I heard, sort of, I think, but I can confirm they're locked in on 119th and Null to build a stadium, which occurred on Kansas City Radio on Monday. Mayor Quentin Lucas would tell Pete Mundo earlier today that, it was pretty interesting to hear somebody say something at 8 a.m. and it's provably false by noon. I thought that was great. Now, Mayor Q is fighting for Kansas City, Missouri, and he's fighting for the state of Missouri to keep the Royals in his state and in his city. So he's got a job to do. That doesn't make him impartial. It doesn't make him unbiased, and that's okay. He's the mayor of Kansas City. Before I play this clip for you, I got to tell you, Quentin Lucas, man, when this guy is on, he is the best you've ever heard. Like, he's got, and we saw this very early in his political career, he's got an unbelievable ability to communicate and reach people that are potential voters that probably wouldn't even think they'd ever vote for him. It's a crossover effect. Why the Democrat Party doesn't do more of this, I don't know. Barack Obama clearly did it. They don't even try to do it today. The only people that speak on behalf of Democrats now are way left, and they never try to meet in the middle or work with Republicans on anything. The tone of the interview from Quentin Lucas today was, I know I'm in a state with a bunch of Republicans, but I'm going to work with these people because they're smart, they want to keep the Royals, and we think we have a way to do that. Pete asked the $1.4 billion question. Mayor Quentin Lucas saying 2 days ago, I've got $1.4 billion, which is 70% of a $2 billion project, for the Kansas City Royals to stay in Kansas City and not move to Kansas. But exactly how is he going to accomplish that? Here's that clip.
You say that there's no tax increase here with this, so how do you get to $1 billion worth of incentives?
Very simply, right? It's largely what the Star Bond tool is. And by the way, I'm not trying to confuse anybody. Everybody thinks this is magical. Some people describe Star Bonds as something that has never been thought of. It is very simply sales tax redirections. So every sales tax dollar that is earned on a project going right back to fund the debt on the project. The Star Bonds are a sales tax, or get the A, right, kind of revenue bond type of thing. And that's the exact same thing that we're looking at in Kansas City and the state of Missouri. First of all, we already have that local thing. It's largely what you call a TIF, tax increment financing, or port authority type thing. The difference in the way that you cover that difference, and the reason there is state legislation in Missouri, which, it needs the Royals to kind of help it activate. But the reason you have that is because that would allow the state sales tax redirection. That's how you start to get into those higher figures. And so, indeed, it is not something that says we need a different either local sales tax or we need to divert some parks tax or something like that. Instead, it's saying we would just look to redirect revenues from the development itself and the stadium into funding the project long term. We're trying to build out numbers that suggest it can last that long. That's largely what we have laid out in front of the Royals. We look forward to active and robust discussions. Those continue. I'm never going to go in depth on them because I think when you're having a good business conversation, you need to have that confidence. But at the same time, certainly I think the public needs to be aware that those chats are ongoing.
That is Mayor Quentin Lucas on with Pete Mundo earlier today on Mundo in the Morning here on KCMO Talk Radio. And if you haven't gone to the KCMOTalkRadio.com website or the app or the podcast page, please go listen to this interview at some point today if you did not hear it this morning. It is worth listening to. And I'm going to say something that is absolutely going to floor you. Okay? You're not going to believe this, and please don't get upset with me. I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm going to say it out loud. I am rooting for Mayor Lucas. I'm rooting for him on this one. I think the Royals belong in Kansas City, Missouri. I don't give my opinion much on really where the team should be or whatever. I've analyzed this and said, look, owners don't turn down 70% of a new stadium when you're offering it to them free. Kansas has had that offer on the table for a couple of years for these teams. They haven't gone anywhere yet. They haven't left. But the money is unbelievable. And I'll say it from the mountaintop for a million times. No owner has ever turned down an offer like 70% of your stadium free. Nobody's ever turned that down. The offer exists in Kansas. And if Mayor Quentin Lucas, working with Governor Keogh and the Speaker of the House from Lee Summit, Patterson, if he can work with those Republicans and they can get that passed in Jeff City and they can come up with an initiative or a bill or a law or whatever it is they got to change in Jeff City to do this, if that's what they get done, I'd be thrilled if the Royals were at Washington Square Park or downtown or wherever. Now, there's a whole set of issues to discuss about downtown. We know what those are. It's dangerous. There's a lot of crime. Depending on where the thing is built and where it winds up being, we're going to have to talk seriously about security and development around there and safety for fans and a lot of different things. There are all kinds of issues that other cities deal with in this regard, and some people, if you love baseball, are going to have to get over the fact of going down there. But there's plenty of day games, and there's all kinds of options. So I do think that would be a great option for Kansas City to be downtown. And in a weird sort of way, because I just feel like the Chiefs are going to take the free money in Kansas and not stay right. They're just, I'm looking out these windows. There is no development here. We've had 60 years to develop things right here at this location, and nothing's developed. Why would you think the teams are going to stay here and try to develop their own business entities around their stadium right here? So it tells me, my gut tells me they're both leaving. And the Royals are definitely leaving. There's no question about that. You ask anybody around here that works for the Royals, they're like, we're gone. We are not staying here. I know Mayor Lucas said the money could go to renovating the stadium. They are not renovating the stadium. That's over. That's not even up for debate. They're leaving this stadium, period. So I think the Chiefs probably will too. And if it worked out that the Royals were in Missouri and the Chiefs were in Kansas, seems like that ought to work for a lot of folks. All right, we're due for our next break, but please go listen to that Pete Mundo interview. It was absolutely sensational this morning with Mayor Lucas. He also had John Sherman on, who talked about just wanting to build a stadium in a dense area where there are people. He talked about density. We want to build where there's density of population. That's it. That's their main thing that they are looking for, the Kansas City Royals, and they say they should be able to announce something by midsummer, which is beginning of summer is June 21st. So we'll see where that is. That's right in the middle of the year. Ryan Lefevre is the voice of the Kansas City Royals. He's a dear friend of mine. He is on his way to Kauffman Stadium. He's a very routine, regimented guy. He's got a schedule. He's got family. He's got times. He's got all that. So he is on his way to Kauffman Stadium. He's going to join us on his commute next on Uncanceled here on KCMO Talk Radio.
Kevin Kietzman, Uncanceled. 10 to 11 a.m. on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
Welcome back to Uncanceled. We're live at Kauffman Stadium today for opening day, and my good friend Ryan Lefevre is the voice of the Kansas City Royals. You can watch and hear him today on FanDuel Sports Network, the new home of the Royals. Wherever you had the Royals before, you have them there. There are also other options, streaming availabilities. You'll be able to find the Royals anywhere you want, and they're going to be good this year. Ryan Lefevre will have the call today. Ryan, welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
Hi, Kevin. It's a little strange. You're at the ballpark, and I'm not, but I'm on my way.
I know you're on your way, and I'm going to be leaving because I have decided waiting 4 hours for the game to start is probably not the best thing for me, and my mom really wants to watch the game with me today, so I'm going to do that. We'll be watching your broadcast. Is that okay? Can I see you out at the ballpark another time?
Hey, your mom's my number one fan, so absolutely.
She totally is. So we've been taking a trip down memory lane today after reading Bobby Witt's story that he wrote in the Players Tribune about growing up as a kid hitting rocks with a wiffle bat and being scared to play in games and a fear of failure and things like that. I shared some of my memories as a kid of baseball. This is a romantic game. It's a nostalgic game. It's opening day. What are your recollections as a child of when you knew this game was such a big, important part of your life? You literally grew up in the game, but when did you realize, hey, this is my life. This is what it's going to be. Baseball is my thing.
Well, first of all, I read that too last night, and man, what a great piece that I think any kid should read. I think a parent should read too. That even somebody like Bobby has gone through questioning himself and anxiety and whatever, and discovering his true love for the game. I thought it was great. I've never really thought about it that way because baseball was always a part of my life, and it was even before my dad. My grandfather was a legendary high school baseball coach in Los Angeles, and he had 3 boys. All 3 of them played professional baseball. My dad was the only one that made it to the major leagues. But as far back as I can remember, I mean, my springs and summers weren't necessarily watching TV or listening to it on the radio. I mean, I was just there in person because that's when I got a chance to be with my dad. My parents divorced when I was very young. And so as a result, I spent a lot of time with my grandparents and my grandfather, who was the coach. And so I was a bat boy for his teams when I was probably 5 or 6 years old. And then, the time that I got to spend with my dad was with him, whether he was in the major leagues as a coach, in the minor leagues as a farm director or a manager, or in the major leagues as a manager. I mean, that was really the only time that we had together was around baseball. So I've always said I don't know how much I really loved playing the game. I think it was expected of me, not by my family, but I think I imposed that upon myself. But when I decided that I wanted it to be a part of my life was probably when I decided to be a broadcaster.
And so you knew the game inside and out and decided, what is it about baseball that you loved so much? Was it simply the familiarity that this is what your life had been when you made the decision, I want to stay in this game forever? Or was it something about the game itself that you said, I can't let go of this?
Well, when I retired after 2 weeks of A-ball, I knew I wanted to get into broadcasting, but I actually set out, I wanted to be a news anchor, and which is a funny story. But what I think I was just open-minded to anything. And once I got into the business and I was an intern, I think I just started to check certain things off the list. I realized if I wanted to be an anchor, I needed to be a reporter, and I just don't have a reporter's genes. I realized that I probably wouldn't make a great talk show host because I just didn't care enough about all the sports to feel like I needed to know every detail. I mean, all those years that I would listen to you and you're breaking down, who the backup center should be for the Chiefs. And, I'm thinking to myself, I mean, just a reminder of how much you need to know if you want to be a talk show host. So I think just over time, what fit my personality was better suited for baseball play-by-play. And but that was not my first goal when I got into the business. And I think it has suited my personality well, because as a former player, and when I say a former player, I mean I was a college player. It's not like a former professional or major league player. But as a former player, I'm more interested in what's going on the field, why it happened, why it didn't happen. And, I was a center fielder and a leadoff hitter in college. So when I became a broadcaster, that's all I knew. I had to learn about pitching, and I had to learn about catching, and I had to learn about the infield, and I had to learn about different pitches and different situations because, I knew the game, but I only knew how to catch the ball in center field and what base to throw to. And as a top of the order guy, how to get on base. That was it. So I've learned a lot about the game as a broadcaster from other people.
Okay, so when you're broadcasting on a day like today, it's opening day, you obviously know this game, it's no more important than any of the other 161 games, but it is. It is to the fans. It is to the city, our community. Everything about it is special. It's different. It's almost like a playoff atmosphere. Our jobs as broadcasters is to be the same every day, be professional every day, treat every game, every talk show, every whatever the same. But I'd be lying if I didn't say there's some slow Tuesdays where I'm looking for topics and I drive away and go, well, that show was just okay today. And maybe that's where we need to be better. But it feels different when something's going on. I feel different on the air today because I'm at Kauffman Stadium and it's opening day than I would if I were at the studio right now. What do you feel on opening day or a big series that matters down the playoff stretch or in the postseason? Are those broadcasts different from you? Do you feel different on days like this?
I think when I was younger, I would have put a lot of pressure on myself for an opening day, or as you said, a big series, or then, when I finally got to broadcast playoff games, it was like, wow, this is, I really have to deliver. And I think over time, I've realized that I earn my money, if I want to use that word. I earn my money in the 90 and 100 loss seasons because the game takes care of itself. Today is going to take care of itself. The stadium's going to be packed. We're coming off a playoff season. There's big expectations for the year. It's one game, but let's be honest, it feels like more than one game on opening day. And I think I learned over time that the bigger the game, whether it's a regular season game or a playoff game, I think the less is required of me because everyone is hanging on every pitch and hanging on every situation. And the last thing I want to do is get in the way of that. So, if there's a slow news day, I don't think you've had many of those lately, but, if it's one of those lazy long games in early August and both teams are out of it, that's where we really have to find things to talk about that mean something to the fans. And I used to when I was younger, I didn't like doing those games. I dreaded those games. And now I've taken it as a challenge that, hey, there's something going on that we can point out that's interesting. But just over time, the bigger the game, the bigger the moment, it's best that I just compliment what's going on and not feel like, I have to deliver on another level when something big happens.
Final question for Ryan Lefevre, voice of the Kansas City Royals. You can catch him on FanDuel Sports this afternoon. Pre-game, game, post-game, the whole deal. 3:10 first pitch, Royals and Guardians, Kauffman Stadium. Have you ever worn a tuxedo jacket during a broadcast that looks like your grandma's curtains? Because that's what Rex Hudler said. You said his jacket looks like. I think he looks fantastic in it today.
Okay, well, I have not seen what he's wearing yet.
Okay.
I haven't gotten to the ballpark yet. So I'm guessing he is he's worn something that I've seen before and made that comment. But for the record, I didn't say it today, so I don't know where where or why he said that today. But I'm guessing whatever he's wearing probably look like somebody's grandmother's curtains. And but who doesn't love their grandmother, and who didn't love being at their grandmother's house, and who didn't feel an immediate sense of warm and fuzzies on the inside and feeling like they're at home when they saw their grandmother's curtains?
Buddy, your guy Rex, when he just like walks around a room or whatever, he's got a little, strut to him. He's got this thing. When he's wearing this jacket, he's the peacock running around Kauffman Stadium. It's unbelievable. His gait today, the way he walks, is remarkable. You're going to love it.
And as you've been around him and other people have been around him, and I've been asked, 100 times, is that an act? And I said, you just need to be around him when he's not on the air. And let me tell you, Rex Hudler is 100% Rex Hudler when he's on the air.
Ryan, have a great call today and a great season. We appreciate your time as always. We really appreciate all the great things you do in our community as well. You are Kansas City. You are a Royals great, and we appreciate your time. Thank you, sir. Have a great day today.
Hey, thanks, Kevin. Sorry we didn't get to see each other in person.
It's all good. I'll see you soon, I promise.
Give your mom a hug for me.
I definitely will. I'll tell her you said so. Thank you. He is Ryan Lefevre. And, folks, I don't think you know how good we have it in Kansas City with Ryan Lefevre as the lead announcer for the Royals. When you call that many games and it's that personal and you're in everybody's living room and radio dial so many times in a season, it can be very, very, very difficult. It can be a tough job because, you hear him a lot and you get to know him a lot. He is really, really good at what he does. Yes, he grew up in baseball. Yes, he played. Yes, his dad was a manager. He's a broadcaster. And I think Ryan Lefevre was born for this. And the things that he does with his church in this community, the people that he touches, the things that he works for, and how committed he is as a father and husband, can't tell you I could respect anybody more than I do Ryan Lefevre. We like a lot of the same things, which is really, really cool. It is just my privilege to have him on here today. I also want to thank Pete and Chris Castro for helping out here today, getting this all set up, and Sam Mellinger and the folks with the Royals for helping line up guests today. It was tremendous. If you didn't hear Pete's interviews with Mayor Quentin Lucas and John Sherman, they're going to be on the podcast page. My thanks to Rex Hudler and Ryan Lefevre for joining us here on Uncanceled. It's a blast. Royals and Guardians today, 3 o'clock. Thanks for listening to KCMO Talk Radio.